All right, welcome everybody to Booze Hour Cloud Edition. So today I've got on a couple of really special guests. I'm sure most of you who are familiar with F5 will recognize these guys, the guys from DevCentral, Jason Rahm and John Wagnon, and we'll be talking through F5 Agility and all the stuff that happened last week with that. But before we go through all that, just wanted to throw a couple things out there. If you're watching via YouTube right now, click on the subscribe button down below. And click on the bell so that you'll get notifications as new videos are released. And one just got released. Our weekly update was just released about half an hour ago or so. So you get notifications on that. We do run a subscriber giveaway every week. So if you click subscribe and I can see your name on there, then you will be automatically entered into a draw every week. A couple other things that are happening. Later on this week, we got a community edition, 2:30 on Thursday, and that's with Jake King. Jake is the co-founder and CEO of CMD, and this is a Vancouver-based cybersecurity startup. They were operating in stealth. They came out of stealth a couple of years ago. They actually have venture funding from Google Ventures. Really exciting startup. Jake, should hopefully be able to share with us some wisdom around being a founder and a CEO of a really cool startup. So that should be fun. Otherwise, without further ado, I am going to bring on John and Jason. Hey guys, how's it going?
Boo, it is the honor of our lifetime to be on Booze Hour Live. just to clarify, to remove any ambiguity. I do want to know though, man, how we're sitting here with our coffee cups and I saw your Keurig there at the beginning. What's your flavor? What's your favorite Keurig thing?
You know what? It's funny. I would love to get a little bit adventurous, but I also like to buy things in bulk. And so I have in my pantry, I have about 8 boxes of the standard Van Hoot medium roast, plain vanilla. Nothing too fancy there. How about you guys?
Well, ironically, while I have a coffee mug, I don't really drink coffee much. So this is 100% prop right here.
Oh wow, you guys are revealing the secrets behind DevCentral.
That's right. That's right. I like the smell of coffee. I'm one of those guys where you smell it like brewing, but then it's like, hey, the taste of it is, I don't know. I haven't gotten past the bitterness of it all. So maybe I need a lot of cream and sugar in there.
Yeah, make it as little coffee as possible with lots of cream and sugar.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was down in Nicaragua a couple of years ago. My son, we were down there doing some mission work, and we on one day got to go to a coffee plantation, and they had they were drying the beans and all that. But yeah, they at the shop we got to pull the bags of beans, and so I brought back 4 or 5 bags of beans for family members that drink coffee, and I think 2 of those bags probably still in my pantry. We haven't even opened them yet, so they're probably bad. I'm sure they're bad, but yeah, I like to squeeze the bag, and it has a little hole that the aroma can pop out of that bag, and
nice.
Good times.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been roasted yet?
That's a good question. I think they're already roasted.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not a coffee drinker, so you could start to talk into the science of roasting coffee. You'll lose me pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm not familiar either. You know what, DevCentral, I don't know who typed this in because you guys are right here, but DevCentral has asked the question, do we qualify for that weekly giveaway? And yes, you do. Anybody that subscribes is part of that. And we have a number of subscribers now, and I'd love to have way more. I think, by the time you hit, I'm not sure how many, but YouTube sends you that solid gold play button when you hit a certain amount of subscribers. Maybe one day we'll hit that on Booze Hour. We'll see. I don't know if you guys have hit that already.
I don't know.
I don't. I'm not familiar with the solid gold. You know.
It's not. Yeah.
Apparently, we have not.
24 karat magic in the air.
We've been spinning on different YouTube videos for my little man. He's 2, and there's this Ryan's World toy review, and there was apparently this little 8-year-old and his family makes like $20 million a year, and one of the videos has been seen like 4.7 billion times. And I'm like, what?
Everyone with an internet connection on planet Earth has seen it at least 3 times.
Yeah,
kind of deal.
It's crazy.
Wow. I mean, my kids watch that stuff. My daughter used to watch a lot of those like unboxing of toys and stuff. And like, you have toys in front of you, like you could play with the toys with your own hands, but no, you want to watch somebody else play with the toy.
Yeah.
So I know you guys on one of the recent DevCentral Connects, which is every Thursday at, I think, 12:30 Pacific time. And you guys are on again this week. But on one of the more recent ones, you guys had a bit of an icebreaker question on peanut butter, crunchy or smooth. My icebreaker question for you guys is, if you guys had to fight either, and you can choose one of these two, 1,000 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck.
Wow. I think I'd probably go with the 1,000 duck-sized horses because, ducks aren't that big. And even if they were coming at me, I'm thinking of the momentum calculations, and I think I can hold my own. So,
dang, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, Boo. Yeah, because it'd be like a marathon versus a sprint. You just get it over with quickly and get crushed by the horse-sized duck. Because I'm thinking about that. The horse-sized duck? I mean, I guess they could just come and just bite you with that bill, and it would be game over. You know? Maybe with the duck-sized horses. I mean, what does a horse got? They're going to try to bite you or kick you with their hind legs. But if they're duck-sized, maybe I kick them right back. I'm not trying to get violent, but you took us there to a fight, right?
Plus, if I'm going out, I've got my my mid-calf boots and my tactical pants, and so
did you know? Hang on,
horses aren't even going to get their teeth around that.
Yeah. So. Did you know the fight was coming? That's another question. Then I could wear the steel-toed boots, and it'd be a different story.
Yeah. So 2 variables. Are you prepared? Are you going to be able to prepare for this fight against the ducks and the horses?
Right.
And if the horse was shrunk, does it maintain its strength?
My assumption was that the strength also shrunk with the size. But
I'm going to go against the Marvel physics and go with real physics.
Right. This is not Avengers or whatever. Right.
Got a comment from P. Silva here. Remember thousands of ants and take over Hopper.
Yep. There's strength in numbers. There's no doubt. It's an interesting question, Boo. I don't know. The next time I find myself in in like the Roman Colosseum, gladiator style, and 1,000 duck-sized horses come charging at me, I hope that I will have worn my steel-toed boots that day.
Unless you're thinking like the zombie apocalypse and they start climbing on top of each other. And
then they form.
They form their own little duck-sized horse monster.
Yeah. This thing could go so many ways.
Peter Silva also informs us, get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. We'll send you a custom silver play button to show off. Once you reach 1 million subscribers, YouTube will send you a gold play button to dwarf the silver button. Wow. So
100,000. Okay. You're well on your way, Boo. Maybe by, I don't know, next Friday.
Yeah. Exactly.
Never know.
Hey, you guys retweeted this, so or put this out on Twitter, so I'm hoping that's going to boost it up by at least a few thousand. We'll see.
I hope so. People are crazy if they don't subscribe to Boo's channel.
That's right. Subscribe now over there.
That's right. Yeah, just start clicking away, people.
Cool. So today we got you guys on. Awesome for you guys to come on. And since last week, you guys were playing a big role in F5 Agility. I saw you guys were hosting a piece of that there. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you guys did?
Yeah, it was actually really cool. We got invited to do a daily Q&A session, streaming like this, just to the On24 platform for Agility rather than YouTube. And we had a group chat where everybody who was attending the virtual Agility could come in and hang out with us, ask questions. And that's where Cup of Joe with Jason and John was born. And so it was a really neat experience.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of interactions did you have on there? Were people talking mostly about the day's events?
Yeah, so maybe I'll take this one real quick. It was very interactive, as it turns out. So we had like a group chat kind of a thing going on where people could just type in, as we're talking. So effectively, kind of what each day looked like is Jason and I would talk about like the keynote from that day, or maybe some of the breakouts that were available for that day, and just highlight some topics. But man, it didn't take long before the comments started to flow in and say, "Hey, I want to talk more about this or that topic."
Yeah.
And then, of course, we would just address those directly to the extent that we could. But I mean, there was really good back and forth interaction there, and it's really cool because I think that's one of the best benefits of agility is when you go and you're there in person and you get to interact with the people. And so this is kind of the next best thing. But I tell you, man, I think I can speak for Jason too. You say, Jason, but the hour just like flew by. We looked up and I was like, wow, it's been an hour, Wow. So it was really fun.
Yeah. And it was surprising because, on our weekly show, we come prepared with topics and in the daily Q&A, it's not that we weren't prepared to talk about things.
We were not prepared at all. Right.
It's not like we weren't prepared to talk about things, but it was different. It was a different, process of preparation.
Right.
And we didn't really know where the audience would lead. And so we did go to their topics rather than staying on our topics.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, we had some really good dialogue back and forth. And, every day was kind of focused on different things. We had automation and orchestration and visibility on day one. Then on day 2, it was app protect. And on day 3 was, I've already forgotten what day 3 was. What was day 3, John?
Day 3, Jason, so unified architecture vision was like the first keynote or one of the keynotes, and then securing apps, code to customer, and delivering apps. So not in that order, but
architecture, was
architecture
the third day, unified architecture.
Yeah.
And so,
Gang, the CTO.
Yep.
Great job.
So and each day came with demos and keynotes, and so we got to talk around that. But the interaction was, probably I would say maybe 40% what the agility topics were, and 60% more like it was John was saying, it was just community hanging out and learning and from each other and just enjoying time together. Some of it was nonsense like Star Trek versus Star Wars and peanut butter and watermelon, whether you salt it or not, and that kind of stuff. But I think that, you build relationship with people, and when you have a relationship, you build trust.
Yeah.
And so I thought that part was really good.
Yeah. And one of the things too, we were talking about like insider threats, and like one of the conversation topics that came up, and this related to the securing applications from code to customer day. We're just talking about the aspect of security and the whole bot issue. There's all this automated traffic out there. How do you protect against the bots? But one of the people on the group chat, one of the customers said, hey, while you want to protect against bad bot activity, you really want to protect against bad activity, period. So whether that's humans or bots, right? So if it's malicious at all, and Gang had had a couple of good stories about that. One bot, one human. The human one was where people started to order a bunch of food online on behalf of other people or whatever, and then the restaurant just got out I think it was like $600,000 in like a month that they lost. But that was human activity. That was not bot activity. Anyway, so as we're in the midst of all that conversation, that had come off the heels of us talking about Star Trek and Star Wars. And we were like, hey, what are some bad, like insider threat kind of stuff in Star Wars? And then that just led to this whole, discussion. So it was kind of fun to mix in all of that together,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were also talking about 24.
Oh, it's 24.
Like, they always had a mold. It's like that HR department does not vet people well.
Sorry.
At all.
Yeah. HR, you're fine. We were joking on 24, like after the first episode or two that I watched, I was like, I might be a terrorist and not even know it. I don't know. So everybody turned out bad on that show, but crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, maybe we can touch on some of the keynotes then. Those 3 days, I guess you guys really highlight the keynotes during your Cup of Joe there. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that you guys watched at least some or part of the keynotes throughout the week. First
we did,
one.
Yeah.
Cool. First one, Kara Sprague. I was just on with a partner of F5's, HashiCorp, and They watched that keynote among the other keynotes and some of the breakout sessions as well. And they had amazing things to say about Kara. And I have to agree, like when we hired Kara and we could see some of the things that she was working about F5, really cool to see where, in the last couple of years, where things have gone kind of under her helm, and her talking through this vision of code to customer, and how we've actually filled in a lot of the pieces that she has talked about a couple of years ago. That vision, along with Gang as well, has started to fill in. So we have a data plane that can go across so many applications now around the world. And we have insights that can be provided by things like Beacon. And we have the ability to plug in and insert things like shape security and deal with the automated attacks, but also start to look at fraud, but also this AI engine that we've now inherited through that platform as well. I don't know if you guys got any takeaways from that.
Yeah, one of the ones that I thought was very interesting is the customers that Kara talks to, and they don't fully have a good visibility or an understanding of exactly how many apps they even have. So how can you possibly protect or manage or whatever if you don't even know the real number? And we joked about it. We held up like our phone or whatever and said, frankly, in defense of some of these companies, I don't know that I could tell you all the apps that are even on my phone that I look at every day, right? But that just highlights the visibility, the analytics, the telemetry data, all that stuff that people need. And like you said, F5's always been in a very strategic place in the data center and the architecture, if you will. And now it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's even more strategic, like such a powerful, set of technology that we have today. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And if you look at she shared a couple diagrams that I'm a big visual guy, and seeing diagrams helps me put the pieces together. And one of the diagrams that she shared was, that code to customer path. And so you have that horizontal journey from, clients to end destination server, and all the different layers of architecture, whether it's, data, file system or database, or your security tier. Maybe you have load balancers or acceleration or whatever. So, there's this big horizontal path for that. But then you also have the, she had a vertical separation, whether it was a traditional application or a hybrid application, 3-tier application, microservices. And, each of those horizontal paths looks a little different depending on which kind of architecture you're in. And then on top of that, layered 2 different things. One was a kind of a performance indicator of, depending on which kind of horizontal path and vertical matrix you're in, how do you have the visibility into each individual one of those pieces from a performance perspective? Because if your app, to your client, it's like, this is slow. Okay, well, yes, your client, your performance is slow, and we get that, but we don't even begin to know where to find that performance threshold and where it's slow when you don't have the visibility into that. And so that was the performance angle. And of course we have, with Beacon and the telemetry services that we have in Big IQ and Big IP and Nginx, and then through third parties like Datadog and Grafana, to be able to roll all that data up into an F5 Beacon offering, to be able to see all that visibility from the performance perspective. But then you also have the security implications of each of those layers, and then she layered vendors on there as well, which was helpful to say, okay, here are all the different boxes in the matrix, and here are all the places we are currently playing in that matrix, which is, I think, helpful for our customers to understand the ecosystem.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I thought it was great. And then the next day we had John Morgan, right? We talked about security landscape there, and I thought that one was interesting in that we are looking at, I think he did a good job of, okay, Kara's kind of outlined, here's code to customer, and here's the different app architectures that we might be looking at. And then I think John came in and said, okay, here now we have all these different matrices of where F5 can sit. And here's where security plugs into all these different pieces here, whether that's from the application access perspective, the infrastructure perspective, or at the application layer, that all of these pieces plug in. And I think personally for me, when I'm speaking to customers, I even kind of get into this tunnel vision of, hey, I need, the customer needs to look at this very specific thing, but it's nice for them to be able to kind of get me to zoom out a little bit and look at, the whole picture here. We have all these pieces that we can use now from F5 and not just pigeonhole ourselves into certain things. And while it kind of looks like we've slammed together a whole bunch of products, made a few acquisitions and stuff, there is a bigger vision out there for what we can do around security, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It just makes a more powerful, compelling story. One of the cool things I love about Shape specifically, kind of a little bit to that point, is that as Shape does the things that they do, they obviously can tell, hey, this is go back to the automated bot traffic, for example. They can tell, hey, this is a bot or not, kind of thing, which a lot of products can do stuff like that, right? But Shape has developed this entire intelligence, body of knowledge, if you will. I don't even know exactly what they call it or whatever, if there is a term for it, but just the intelligence that they have collectively gathered over time. And they could say, hey, this activity that just happened is, maybe it's on a little threshold. We're not sure if it's a human or not or whatever, but based on just our intelligence of the world around us, then we can use that to affect a decision, and makes it much more powerful and stop a lot of bad stuff from happening. And I just think that that's really cool that they have, they're able to just take that knowledge that they've gained over the course of time, and they use that in all of the decisions that they make. Super powerful stuff.
One of the things from day 2 that I liked, and it wasn't in the keynote, but is in one of the breakouts, it was about, the castle walls falling. And it was talking about, the end of the, you have your castle on a hill in Europe. And I don't know if you've been to Europe and toured any castles, but the couple that we got to do on my last trip there, one of them was Hohenwerfen in Austria, and it's legit up on the side of a cliff, up on the hill, overlooking a river, and big thick walls, and you're not getting into that. Obviously in the modern era, when we can just fly an F-16 over that and bomb the snot out of it, it's a modern era that they don't matter so much. But back in the day, that location and the perimeter protecting it, that was safe. And in the early eras of having your data center, all of your infrastructure enclosed within your own perimeter, and you controlled everything, all of your data, all of it lived inside, having a strong perimeter was important. But in the era of cloud everything, when all of your data, all of your files, and maybe not all of it, but a lot of it is going outside the walls of your perimeter, how do you secure all that? And how do you even know if it's secure, even after you've secured it? And taking a look at, especially in the era of automation, and being able to incorporate security earlier into the development process, and think, not necessarily security first, but, from a development standpoint, not of an application, but of a delivered application and a deployed application. We can't just test that the application is safe. We have to test that the application system is safe, and rolling all of that left from maybe something you throw an application over the wall to your operations team, say, put this out on the network. It's, hey, let's think about that all holistically. And we're not just going to test that the application's safe. We're going to test that the network is safe. We're going to test that the cloud that part of that application is living on is safe. And that way you get all of your red flags come before you're in production rather than after.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the breakout for integrating F5 app security into CI/CD pipeline.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. So I merged the castle. The castle has fallen and
zero trust stuff, and that one. Yeah.
So I think I took a screenshot of it, but a stat that I saw on there was, for every 100 developers, there's 10 DevOps folks and 1 security person. And so we have to think about security is not just that guy's girl's issue. That person needs to be the advocate to get security in the hands of everybody else.
Absolutely.
And that whole breakout, and there was a lab that went along with that as well. That was all around the declarative API that we have now for WAF. And so for folks that are listening, you have the ability to actually interact with ASM, which is, for anybody who's configured ASM before, there is a lot of menus, there's a lot of buttons and knobs and things to fill out on there, and there's interaction that you have with ASM to get it up and running. And for us to be able to turn that into a declarative API, and in the lab, they have it so that you can implement a policy, and as a suggestion comes, it actually comes back into a repo as a JSON file that you can then accept by re-adding that JSON file into your policy, into the repo. I just thought it was awesome to see it actually put into a real world scenario there, where people can say, okay, I'm not just going to point to Joe, the security guy, and say, hey, secure my app. Instead, Joe's going to say, here's the tools that you have. Here's how to use the tools. Now you 100 developers and me just as the one security person, you guys can all implement all the tools that I'm putting out there. I thought that was a really cool demo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, super cool. And you're right. It's sometimes people feel like they need a PhD level whatever just to set up an ASM policy. So to know that that's really been simplified is really good news.
Yeah. But you talk about the nerd knobs of ASM and all these, and I like to understand everything that's going into a policy. So I'm a little less, maybe it's just a little bit more old school, but I'm a little less a fan of declarative before imperative. Like I want to understand all the pieces that are going into that declarative before I'm comfortable just saying, oh, hey, that's great, click go, and go about your business. Because abstracting all of the complexity also abstracts knowledge of your system.
Right.
And so if you don't know the underlying system, when things break, troubleshooting is that much harder for your operations team.
Yeah. Shout out for DevCentral. There was a recent article on leveraging the new OWASP Top 10 dashboard. Colin McKay published that over to DevCentral, but kind of in the middle of things where you're manually configuring every single nerd knob to a declarative API to having GUI access and just looking at a nice clean menu to say, do this, this, and this, and this, and then you'll get to the point without having to learn every single button and knob to get you to the outcome that you wanted, that OWASP Top 10.
Yeah.
We've got, running up on time here. I don't know if you guys want to share maybe a key takeaway that you guys have, and we'll leave everybody with some links to follow to get to all the agility replays.
I got 2. I would just say, if you haven't done the agility stuff yet, it's all there. You can register and get access to it, and I highly recommend you do that. And then just one of the things that was asked in one of our Q&As was for the iRule tracing. And I don't know if you've done any of the tracing stuff, but one of the problems that people have run into is when you have all those log data, what do you do with it? And it reminded me last summer, one of the product development interns built a web app to consume those files, and I have that. And so on our show on Thursday, I'm going to walk through a demo of that. I have to clean it up. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up before we make it public, but that was on my plate to do that in the fall, and I just I dropped the ball. So, but I'm going to demo it tomorrow, and I'm working on the process of cleaning that up to make it available to everyone. But that way you can consume all of your iRule tracing, so you can look at stack traces to see, not just from a performance standpoint of this iRule isn't working well, but this is where your slowdowns are within each event of your iRule. And by the way, this might be the particular call that you're using. And so is there a way to refactor that, or are you just happy with the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Awesome.
Super cool. Yeah. And I guess the thing, one other quick thing I would add, it's all good. One of the nice things, like Jason said about agility, is that it is still out there. All the content is still out there. So for anyone that wants to go back and watch it, then they certainly can. And then this is not as technical, I guess, but we've been told that the commitment from F5 is the next time we have agility, it will be an in-person event. So I mean, I'm not at the pay grade to say that, yeah, that's 100% true, but I know that that's the push. So I just wanted to encourage everybody, hey, stick with us, and we'll be back together in person again, hopefully soon.
Cool. Yeah. Right on. Thanks, guys. So before we wrap up and sign off, I'll mention as well, in a couple weeks, it will be the F5 Agility Lab portion. Mm-hmm. I was just on this morning. We were doing some dry runs of one of the labs I'm participating in. I think it's going to be really cool. We're taking that in-person learning experience, and we're going to do our best. And I think it's going to be a really good product that we'll be able to present to everybody as a lab. Really cool topics, all the topics that we normally would have presented on and done labs on. Many of them have been now refactored into virtual labs instead. I think everybody's going to get a lot out of that. So hopefully people have signed up, because it is full at this point, from what I understand. So
yeah, and we were talking to Chris Fouts, who is behind a lot of the management side of the agility experience, and I think they are looking at additional dates. No promise there. But for those of you who did not get into the labs up front, keep looking back, because more lab dates might be coming. Nice.
Right on. Thanks for that insight. With that, we will sign off. Catch these guys on Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. So I think it's youtube.com/devcentral/live, and you'll be able to find it there. Right. Thank you very much for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Boo. It's been great.
Take care.
Thank you.